I saw the Ashley Park interview. At least they know each other. They're kind of family, you know. I'm like, we just met, and this was really good.
Like, I swear to God, if we don't get to play sisters or something in
I know.
like, I'm gonna be like, the industry has screwed up.
Exactly. Hi, Erika. It's nice to meet you.
And we have danced around each other in the LA scene for years. You know, for years we've known all the same people and had all the same friends.
Yeah.
And now, finally, it takes, if it took a whole quarantine for us to meet, then it was worth it.
Yes, exactly. I always say this. I feel like I'm still a newcomer in a lot of ways. It's a small group of people, the people that are in the voiceover industry. I'm so glad to finally be able to be acquainted with a fellow AAPI artist in voiceover. So the pleasure is mine.
There is a sense of camaraderie with AAPI actors, I mean, just in general with voice actors, as period. Like,
for sure.
And we all sort of know each other and party together and work on projects together.
Having come from the on-camera world and then transitioning into the voiceover world for me, because I've been in the industry for 15 years, and of those 15 years, it took me almost 10 years, maybe eight to 10 years to get into voiceover, because I had been looking for an agent, I've been looking for an in, but it was a very predominantly white male industry when I was trying to break in. Once I got in, though, it was such a friendly community, and it was a breath of fresh air compared to the sort of atmosphere that sometimes the on-camera world has. What I had learned early on, having, for example, worked with Fred Tatasciore, as you know, I'm sure you're familiar with, is that voiceover artists really check their ego at the door, and I learned that very early on, and because of that, I'm so thankful that I've been able to, I feel like, follow in the footsteps of those that have come before us because of the attitudes and that I got to see in people who have 500 plus credits in this industry. So I feel honored to be a part of it.
You know, I always joke that it's because, like, we're so much more replaceable than on-camera actors.
Are we though? Are we?
That's the thing, is now that voice acting has become a lot more prestigious, you know, whether because like games are played more than people go to see movies, and voice actors are becoming more known for their work. You know, we were talking on some like panel, we were like, yeah, you know, so many of my on-camera friends are like, you're not thinking about getting into voiceover.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, I'm like, oh, that thing that you're like, oh, it's just voiceover. I'm like,
yeah, don't you do any real acting?
Exactly. You can't just get into. I mean, you can, but it's like,
but it's like a very different set of skills, and like,
for sure. The thing that I'm also thankful for about voiceover is just the consistency of it. I'm sure you've obviously experienced the difference between our on-camera life, where, you know, we'll get an episode here on TV, a part on a film, but it's so sporadic, whereas we could be on a series or a game and we just keep going in. And especially during this pandemic, it kept us all afloat. So, you know, we're the lucky ones here.
Very, very, very lucky. That's been such a blessing. But I want to fan out here for a second, to be awkward for a moment. Talking about, you know, you still feel like a newcomer, but I remember 6 years ago when, you know, Overwatch came out. And I love D.Va. There's like, I think there's pictures of me with like the little.
Really? I did not know that.
It was so amazing, and D.Va was so important to see for me, like an Asian American woman trying to get into games.
I'm honored that you're saying that. Thank you so much. I felt the same about D.Va myself, you know, because we're not obviously our characters. And I've told this story before, but I grew up with some guy friends in high school who would play Tekken, and they played Street Fighter, you know, 2 and all of that. And I was always like the sparring buddy. I was never allowed to really be the one to, you know, actually pick Ryu. I grew up gaming, but yet I wasn't like, you know, the one that actively involved in that. Like literally my friend Eric, I'm just going to call him out. He would be like, oh, can you just do this one move? like over and over again so he can practice his moves on my character. I know it sounds so horrible now, but I think well, he bought me lunch, so whatever. You know, like he was my best friend at the time, so it wasn't like a big deal. But I realized growing up, I had put female gamers and female characters in a box. Like we grew up with Chun-Li, that was it. When I ended up going in for the audition for Overwatch, not really having it had the beta had just come out, but not much else after that. So I was really excited because, you know, I was born and raised in America, but the things that have always sort of brought me down or made me feel insecure are the things that D.Va embodies in a positive way. So, for example, like I'm small, I'm a person of color, I'm a female, I sound young, I look young, and, you know, and all these things that I saw sometimes as a disadvantage growing up, I saw her embody in a way that was portrayed in the game in a positive light, and those were strengths. And so at cons and stuff, sometimes I'll meet men like who are completely different from D.Va, who are D.Va mains, and so it really ended up impacting the way I saw myself, and so I feel the same as you about her as a character. Even though it's just a video game, you know, it's just a video game or whatever, it impacted me in a deeper way than I ever expected.
I mean, especially because it's a video game. I feel like saying like female gamers, sort of like saying like female moviegoer, right? Where it's just like that's, you know, it's like such a mainstream hobby for everybody now. And women have always been playing video games. It was just like marketed towards boys for, it's a whole thing. They say representation matters, but very specifically in such a way that like it normalizes being who we are in the film industry. You get put in a lot of boxes.
For sure. As tertiary, at best, supporting characters, you know. So for us to, you know, experience this on a different level, it's a different experience from what I think we've all grown up in, and as it should be, right? Like, why are we sitting here being like, oh my gosh, like we're finally getting, yeah, thank you, like please, no, this is why, Erika, I hate the word. This is going to sound crazy, but hear me out. I hate the word diversity because it others us. Yeah. It makes us something that makes the main different. Or
right. Like, this is normal and everybody else is, you know,
diverse. Right. And we need to change the narrative.
Global tastes, global representation is you know, more normal now. It's weird. It's not pushing for diversity. It's trying to get rid of exclusion.
Yes, that's the way to say it.
Yeah,
well, switching gears, I'd love to hear about your experience on Apex. I have seen some of the stuff, especially because your character is super popular and is a fan favorite. I would love to know how that's impacted you, and do you play?
It has been truly wild getting to be part of this, because I specifically wanted to act in video games. That was my goal. You know, I did the whole sort of child actor thing, you know, before college. I was in Full House and a ton of Barbie commercials.
I read that. That's so cool.
I loved it. I loved acting, you know, and then I did a bunch of Shakespeare and plays. But, you know, I went to college to sort of like, you know, get a degree to fall back on, blah, blah, blah. I did a lot of violin. And then, you know, getting back into acting, I was like, I want to be in video games. I am so excited by this new storytelling medium that we have growing in our lifetimes, and I want to be part of that. And because I have played games for as long as I can remember. And
what's your favorite one?
The Last of Us was definitely what made me was.
You're friends with those people. I know you're friends with them.
Well, that's the thing, is like I wasn't when I played it and everything, and so now to like
get out
and like
I didn't know that.
I have been a fangirl for so long, and like before I worked with Blizzard, because I ended up being World of Warcraft. It's a fun story. I used to do figure modeling, like for my cosplay, because I did cosplay. And so there was this one art teacher I knew that was like, oh, like you should show up in your costumes to my class at Cal Arts. One day while I was in the Cal Arts class, he was like, yeah, I'm going down to Irvine to work with, I work at the Art Academy at this company Blizzard. And I was like, with you. And he's like, it's an hour and a half drive down. And I was like, I don't care. I want to go. My first time working with Blizzard was as a figure model at the Art Academy. And
That's
there might
dope.
still be like a sculpture of me on like their website as that. And so I would go because I was just a fan, you know? And then it became, you know, I was working with Geek and Sundry. I started like doing interviews, and I was friends with with a lot of the folks who ended up starting to work for Blizzard too.
And this is
And
also the crit roll crowd, right? The
yeah,
crit,
yeah.
yeah,
So like
so crazy.
I was with Mercer before.
Yeah, yeah, there's an overlap there too.
I played the Overwatch beta, you know,
You did?
before it hit public. It might have been
Yeah.
like alpha.
Oh, cool.
Because like they called a bunch of streamers, gamers, esports people to the campus, and they're like, "Hey, so top secret, we have this game, and we want to see what you think about it." And we were like, "This is going to change esports."
And now you are in the forefront of the scene on so many levels. But Last of Us, you're saying, is your favorite, as well as Apex.
I play Apex every day, you know, and I played Apex before I was cast. So it's just like truly wild to like fan of a game and of a lore and of this world, and then suddenly it's like, you're in it and you play this character who's super cool, and she's also a lesbian, and she like, you know, has your same sort of like heritage, and she's the daughter of the coolest pilot in the universe. It sounds like something I made up, you know?
Yeah.
So
I mean, it was written for you.
it feels like it was written for me, you know? And so just in the way that, you know, D.Va is so dear to you, like Valk is like, I put so much of my heart into her. There is so much of me and of what I wanted to see in media in her. It is validated. Like, it's like you belong. You belong in this industry. You belong in games.
Have your fans connected with you, or have they expressed to you how much it means for her to be a lesbian character? Is there anything you'd like to share about that?
You know, I am queer. Happy Pride, everyone!
Yeah.
Yeah, my sort of community that I had sort of found myself in and collected both in my streaming days and in sort of my other acting and tabletop days is very queer. And so yeah, I have gotten countless fan arts and messages and fan cams about how important Valk is. You know, she's the first canonical lesbian in Apex. Similarly, how has that been for you? Have you gotten other women, other Korean Americans reaching out to you, telling you how much D.Va means to them?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned though, because I do see like fan art of other ships, you know, with like D.Va and Sombra and D.Va and Mercy and D.Va. So that's been really interesting, all the pairings and whatnot. It's such an honor because with any of the other work I've done, especially on camera, like I've done like a couple Disney things here and there too, and like guest spots and stuff. And as much as people might have like recognized me for that, it doesn't mean that it has really impacted them in any way. And so when I meet fans at cons and, you know, tell us their stories, their life stories and what they're going through and how our games have pulled them through to, you know, through a dark time or something, like it makes it all so worth it. I have another question for you. What do you think we can do to further just the growth and exposure of people of color in this industry? And what do you want to see?
So my hope is, I know you were part of the ABC Diversity Showcase.
Yeah, I mean, which they don't call it that anymore, interestingly enough. I was in it long enough ago. Yeah, they took out the word diversity. It's called ABC Discovers now, which I think it's a good title for it, because they also wanted to include the queer community in that, and diversity. I don't know the reasoning, but I think it kind of sounded more racially diverse. And so they wanted to make sure sure that they gave a chance to the LGBTQ plus community, as well as able-bodied versus.
Oh yeah. That makes sense. It's just like we were talking about, sort of normalizing inclusion as opposed to being like, this is something so rare and
Yeah, and so othered.
For those who don't know, I guess who are watching this, and like that is so hard to get into. Like I'm so impressed because like every year they'll send it out and be like, do these couple of scenes or do some scenes, and so that's so cool.
It was, it's so funny because I booked one pilot before, one series regular. It was a while back for MTV when they were starting scripted stuff, and that was really exciting. And like Call of Duty, I was in that. That was really exciting. But nothing was as gratifying to get as that diversity showcase the ABC Discover showcase that they don't pay you for. It's just purely to be in that group and to perform for a bunch of industry professionals. Yeah. You are truly up against 10,000 submissions. I know this because I, became friends with the people in casting over there, and they truly get 10,000 plus applicants. I think it's probably up to 12,000 now every year, and they only picked 12. It's really neat to see like a class of actors that are mostly people of color grow in their own right, and to be able to support each other in that way has been a joy to be a part of.
What I've seen in the industry, of my fellow actors raising up voices that are marginalized has been so inspiring for me. My friend JP Karliak started Queer Vox, which is sort of an LGBTQ plus network for voice actors. And then
that's cool. I didn't know such a thing existed. That's really cool.
That's new. And then a lot of casting breakdowns become a lot more specific in asking for diversity and in casting ethnically appropriately. And I all the love to my agents over at A3 because they know they will send me out for whatever I am right for. But from the very start, I told them I will not knowingly audition for anything that is, Black or Latina, or anything that I'm not, I do not claim as my
identity.
As my identity. Yeah. For marginalized communities, even on the front of, I'm gender fluid, seeing breakdowns that are this character is non-binary, gender fluid, trans, we would like somebody from that community. I'm 3/4 Japanese, and then the other part is Chinese and a little bit Indian.
Like East Indian.
Yeah, East Indian, yeah. Because there's a big Indian population in Hong Kong, and so my family is from Hong Kong, and then, further back from that India.
That's so cool. Do you claim that? Will you say I'm a little Indian?
Look Indian. I don't feel like I can put that on my resume and claim it, but it's my great grandfather was Abdul Ghaffur Safayyad, so it's not that far back. But and yeah, I'm Chinese. I feel like I'm never gonna get cast as something Chinese because I have a Japanese last name, But
what's your middle name?
Oh, I'm Mari.
Mari.
Yeah.
Do you speak Japanese?
Skoshi,
Yeah, so I'm half Japanese, half Korean. My middle name is Takahashi. So thankfully I'm able to dip into both, although people are Chung, that's Korean, right? I'm casting directors need to get their shit together. It could be both. They're so you speak Chinese too because your last name is Chung. I was I just told you I'm fucking Korean and Japanese, okay, yo? Please, get it together.
Another thing that we're gonna have to, the hoop that we're gonna have to get through once we get past okay, so you're casting Asians, is the now you have to be the exact right ethnicity of the right, you have to be the right type of Asian, right? Where there are so many more limited roles for Asians that it's I don't care if Korean or Filipino actor plays Chinese or something, just because it's we just need to be out there right now. White people can play any type of European, right? Or even Australian, but we are always confined to you have to be if you're Japanese in this, you have to speak Japanese, you have to be just Japanese, blah, blah, the people who have the most credits and have the most experience in this industry, who have the most connections are, white and mostly men. And so to bring in this new pool that specifically has been overlooked is fantastic. And I see that more and more now.
I feel like I haven't had as much of an impact on a grand scale, which is why, in terms of like trying to bring in more people, and I've done it for friends, other Asian friends, for example. I want to do better in that way. So that's why, I was curious what your ideas were on that. I have been speaking out on panels, though, as uncomfortable as it makes people, probably the other panelists, feel, because I'm usually the only person of color, as you probably only are too, usually when you're in a panel, like, and maybe there'll be like one other Black actor. And so, I use those as opportunities, as cringeworthy as it is. And in this sort of post-George Floyd world, I feel like people have gotten more educated. And because of that, it has freed me to be more vocal about it. And so I'm trying not to skirt the issue anymore and try to be all bubbly and talk about all these other things that are comfortable for people. I've been trying to be a lot more open about it. I think that as I'm getting older, I personally feel like I just got to live my truth. And if you don't like it, like, it is what it is, like, take it or leave it. And with that comes an honesty about what I experience, what we experience collectively and individually as people of color.
That's so commendable. And honestly, don't downplay that. You have a platform. How many thousands of people hear your voice, like, read your tweets, go to your panels. And you are educating, you are doing the work to educate, because like no single person can really implement change, at a ground level. But it is like, and for every person, like if every person like brought in 30 of their friends who would never have gotten that opportunity otherwise, it's like suddenly we have this incredible pool of talented, diverse actors. And you're right, last year in 2020, I think a lot of us said enough is enough. I am bubbly and I'm positive, and I talk about just how incredible the industry is in terms of progress, but I have also been very vocal about how it could improve. And we criticize these things because we love it. We love it and we want it to be better,
Yes. It's not to just put some random negative topic out there. It's because this is a life that we live. We believe in a more inclusive world. And like, I'm just going to say it, like, it's come at a cost at times. You know what I mean? Lots of people that might not understand our point of view and get angry and unfollow or whatever it is. But I'm like, still, it's all, to me, I'm like, we got to live a life of integrity. I can't.
Yes. I commend so many of my actor friends for, realizing that their platform, like, you understand, especially as women of color, like in coming up in the industry, you were told, like, don't say controversial things. Make yourself palatable to the widest audience.
Yes.
Right? And that like big companies will see your tweets and will not hire you because you are a troublemaker. And everybody said to heck with that last year, and was willing to speak up and publicly donate to causes.
I also think that you and I are in a very privileged position where there are certain securities in some ways that we have been able to earn, being in the industry for a really long time and having these, big franchises that we're a part of, that allows us to be more vocal. And what I found was when I was like, I hate to do this to Overwatch and D.Va too much, but I bet you feel sort of similar. It's that once I got her, I was like, oh, I'm good. I could just be me now. Like, I'm good. I could just be me, and whatever that comes with. And in doing so, the fears that I've had about trying to be that palatable, good little actor girl, I've been released of that personally in a lot of different ways. And it hasn't shrunken my opportunities and all these things that we tell ourselves. Like, at the end of the day, this world just needs us as people, the flawed, imperfect people that we are, and that is what is most acceptable and palatable, and we need to keep reminding ourselves of that.
If a company's not going to hire me for speaking truth to power, then I don't want to work for them, and it hasn't lessened my opportunities.
It is what it is.
And like, now that we know each other, in that way, that again, that camaraderie way, like, we're gonna see each other's wins and just be so thrilled to see each other. Like, I'm so excited to like see your series and see you in movies and like play your games and just like cheer you on.
Oh, likewise. Thank you. You know, are impacting so many people out there, especially as an Asian American, beautiful woman that's talented, and to be able to, I think, represent us in that way. I'm proud to know you now and to call you friend now. And yeah, that's really cool. I have a lot of respect for that.
Same here. Like I was said, I've been a fan for 6 years. Thank you. It really,
Thank you.
really means a lot to me. Like we're out here together.
Yes, yes. This has been so fun.